nachos, amigos, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Record Breakers. I'm Petey Rave, your man with no plan. Here with me, as of course, is my team, my squad, my team members, my crew here on this musical journey. We've got Brett.
Let me present to you my basilisk.
Yes. We've got Drew.
Hi.
And we've got Patrick.
Hello, fellow kids.
Yes. We're here, of course. We're here, of course, to talk about music, share music with each other, as we do often. We try to do every week. Our little book club for music, as it were, where we share an album every episode. The provider of the album this week is Patrick. Patrick, what do you got for us this week?
I'm bringing an album that I thought I would bring a long time ago on this show, but for reasons that are unclear to me, it took this long. Clutch and their 2005 album, Robot Hive Exodus.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be an interesting talk today. I'll start with Drew. Drew, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
I'll be honest, I didn't have much. Clutch is a band that I know the name of, but not much else. I know usually when I hear them, it's people who enjoy we'll say dude bro music a lot of times is what I usually see. Like the people who enjoy Clutch enjoy their like bands that would label themselves hard rock and southern rock. So I was a little worried that I was going to hate my entire life. But I went into it with an open mind, trying not to let that cloud my judgment on what this band could be, and went into it knowing that I was going to have a weird ride with this one.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what expectations did you have coming into this?
I had heard the band Clutch before. I did not know where. But after being told, hey, we're going to listen to a Clutch album, it was one of those like, okay, which band is that of the bands with names that are a thing? And I had to search, and I found out from an early Xbox 360 game that I had. But we'll talk about that later.
Yes. Yes, it's a band that a lot of people have heard a song of, at least, if you are a fan of a certain skateboarding game. Especially the underground edition of which. Patrick, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes, elements that make up this record?
So, Clutch are from Maryland, but not specifically Baltimore, more Germantown. They are the genres that get described here that I would say are appropriate: hard rock, stoner rock, psychedelic rock, blues rock. They're a rock band that definitely has some roots in heavy blues and also a side of stoner rock, which is just sort of, I guess, in my mind, stoner rock always ends up being super groovy, and groovy would be the word I would describe a lot of things that happen on this record. I don't really think of them as a bro rock band, although I bet they have bro rock fans in the way I feel like Tool isn't super bro rock, but has like the worst fans ever. They're best known, I think, obviously for Tony Hawk Pro Skater and for also being loosely associated with Bam Margera and sort of the CKY scene, because I guess he was a fan of them, because rock bands from the Northeast in the early 2000s. This is like sort of a mid-career album from 2005, so they've been around since the early 90s and effectively had the same lineup the whole time. Although this album features an organ player, because Hammond organ should be in more rock albums, in my mind. And I don't know if anyone has anything to say on that, but more Hammond organ, we need that. It's a super groovy rock record that doesn't. I'm afraid Brett's going to call it butt rock, but I feel like it's very un-butt rock. There's a lot of odd time signatures, and there's actually like 2 full-on old-school blues covers on the record, just to kind of give you an idea of where they're coming from. But it's very guitar-heavy with a lot of organ tossed into probably 2/3 of the song on the record.
Mm-hmm. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
This one is really weird to unpack. Just really, really weird. I'm gonna get some stuff out of the way really quick. Neil's vocals, I absolutely did not like. It sounded like a cartoon Southern rock character. It was a stereotype to sort of a ridiculous degree. And I couldn't get like I know it's not supposed to be funny in that way, but a lot of the songs on here, especially the first half of the record, like it sounds like as if Eddie Vedder was from Georgia, which is really weird to me. And it might work for some people. It's not my cup of tea personally. And at times the music could be very, very boring. Especially like I said, this album is almost in two parts for me. The first half of the record was just but as soon as it hit some binary code was when like the album sort of switched to me into being something different. And Patrick mentioned it. Mick Shower. I had to look up his name because the dude behind the keyboards was doing some brilliant stuff on this record. It just really, really good. And he, I think, single-handedly is saved the entire experience for me because even in the songs I didn't like, I kept hearing twinges of that. And I was like, when are they going to let him just rip on something cool? And then later on in the record, they let him rip on some cool stuff, and that's all right. But when this album, like I said, is sort of almost in two parts at times. It's this growly, overdriven, like stoner hard rock sort of thing, and I didn't dig that part of it. But when it got down into the quieter, more like almost bluesy parts to it, and let it get itself get a little more technical and let itself like explore a bit more of the musicianship, including the instrumental. The near instrumental, I should say. There are some vocals in it, but barely. That's sort of where I really dug it the most.
Mm-hmm. Brett, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the elements?
I'm gonna try and not rehash too much of what Drew's had to say, but my notes on the vocals are similar. It's like Eddie Vedder and Dave Brockie got together and some stuff. It was almost like a parody of rock and roll vocals. Like it's very, very odd. But no, I mean musically, I mean there's some slide guitar that's used, a dobro in one part. It's kind of cool. The guitar tone is super thick and soupy, and somebody knew what they were doing there. The mix was good. The use of the organ gave it a little bit more of a. I mean, this is the kind of music that you would see on a Friday, Saturday night in my hometown. The organ is always there to add a bluesy feel. And it does. It's you add an organ to Southern rock and it becomes blues rock sometimes. So it tiptoes on subgenres. But yeah, this is one rock and roll ass early mid 2000s ass album.
Yeah, yeah, that is certainly the case when it comes to this record. It very much feels like 2000s rock and roll tunes.
They don't make them like this anymore.
As that's going to be, if we ever make t-shirts, we'll put that on a t-shirt. They don't make them like this anymore. Patrick. I'm all lost. Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks to zero in on?
So for me, I think the song that got me into this was the second track, Burning Beard. It's got this really cool sort of off-time groove. I think it's in 9. I don't know. I'd have to really be better at music theory and counting music off. But it's got this cool off-time groove that then switches into this sort of really sparse part between the verses. And it's really cool. The drums are good on it, and the drums have if you really listen to the details of them, there's a lot more going on than what you would hear if you weren't really listening for it. And the bridge on this one, the vocals are really great. I know, I guess no one likes Neil Fallon's vocals, but I love Neil Fallon. I think he is the right mix of screaming and singing. It doesn't get full on like growly vocals, but like it has that kind of power and edge to it. Mice and Gods, which that chorus is one like this is to me like if you want to pick out why like the whole stoner rock genre is kind of rad sometimes, because I'm not someone who is a stoner, but I found I like a lot of stoner rock and stoner metal.
Weed.
Yeah, I find out I like a lot of
every
the supposed music of it that gets that in its name. This
all
is
right.
just
I love Half Baked as a movie.
That's a great movie. Great movie. It's got a.
I like gangster rap sometimes.
Yeah.
I know a lot of potheads. Not one of them has a Clutch album in their CD player right now. That's the whole stoner rock thing is hilarious to me.
Yeah, I feel like it's like super groovy rock tends to be stoner rock.
Music, stoner music.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So this has got the guitar tone on this is just really, really great. It's got some serious Hammond organ work going on, and the chorus is just like perfect. Like to me, that is a great chorus on a rock song. And then the aforementioned binary song 100011100101. This song literally gives me goosebumps when I listen to it, part because of memories associated with it, and part because it has this really pretty organ part that starts it out, and then it just kind of kicks into this like crazy Neil Fallon lyrics. Neil Fallon has crazy lyrics. He is he's an interesting fellow. Also, there's a Rush shout out in this song that I'm hoping everyone heard. But apparently the Temple of Syrinx is having the bake sale of the year. And I have this memory of coming home from a concert with a bunch of friends and my little brother like 10 years ago. Close to that, probably 7, 8, 9 years ago, listening to this song, singing along to it. And it's a really, really great song. And it's the organ part on it alone is really great. And then sort of a side mention, the last two tracks, Gravel Road and Who's Been Talking, which are just, Gravel Road is a like blues song with a resonator guitar and a slide. That's just cool. I like that a band in 2005 is willing to be like, this is kind of where we're getting it from, because you hear a lot of very heavy blues sort of sound throughout the record, and these are just classic blues tracks that they've kind of put their own spin on. And that would be it for me.
I will say I didn't mind the vocals, but I can see how it might not be for everyone. But setting that aside, Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, the first song, the incomparable Mr. Flannery, I say every time, lead with your best foot forward. Give me something where I can see where the band can go. Give me a slice there, right? Give me sort of the vertical slice of, we can do these things. Like, this is what we do. You start a podcast with a similar intro every time because it lets people know who's there, what's going on. I think albums should be in that sort of way too, because like, this is my first Clutch album. I don't know the whole bit. This was a song that hits me where it, again, the vocals are what I'm gonna focus on most records right off. The vocals hit me as a Southern rock cartoon, and he's singing about a Camaro. I'm fucking worried at this point. But then we get into two of the songs I actually really, 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 really enjoyed, and they're right back to back. And that's 100011010101. I'm gonna say it all because that's ridiculous. It's a sci-fi song about like sci-fi BS, and it, like, a lot of it doesn't make sense. Like, you almost think it's gonna be some sort of concept, and then it's not. At times it just goes off on weird tangents. That kind of shit is why I love the Aquabats, and like having it in this sort of milieu is really hilarious. Plus it gives you two of the funniest lines that I don't think were meant to necessarily be funny in a rock song that I've heard in a long time, and that's the aforementioned Temple of Syrinx is having the bake sale of the year, and in my opinion, Robot Lords of Tokyo smile taste kittens, which is hilarious. Because why smile taste kittens is there? No idea. But then Small Upsetters is more towards like a instrumental track. There's some vocals in there, but they're very subdued. And that one to me was just something that was really, really cool. The bass was just super thick and groovy. There was this almost dancey rhythm to the keys to it, which was really fun. And then the guitar was just allowed to do like the cool guy rock and roll solos through it, and I think it worked really well for what that was, and sort of got me back on track of like, oh, okay, there's stuff here to dig out. Let's do some digging.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, let's take a trip back to 2006, where the guys from 3D Realms, off of their Duke Nukem success, made a video game about a Cherokee man who gets abducted by aliens.
Yes.
Yup.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
You also want to talk about 1-0.
Yeah, I played Prey, so I did not know that I had heard any of these songs before. I had heard 10011010101. It's horrible name for a song. Try and Google that one. But it's pretty cool how it opens up. Kind of sounds like a more Deep Purple than anything else. Is they really have some ridiculous stuff. I will not be pandered to, but it's worth a listen. Circus Maximus. That had a very cool opening groove. Sort of reminded me of Chicken Foot, the super group.
Yes.
And then all the Deep Purple-esque buzzed out hook is pretty cool. I really dug it, and ridiculous lyrics. A couple other songs, 10,000 Witnesses, that stuck out because of how different it sounded on an album that sounded a lot like itself a lot of times. And Gravel Road should be mentioned. They get the tip of the hat. The sprung of the day for use of the dobro. Dobro is if you're already going to be playing slide guitar, might as well just tune up a dobro and have your strings be a little more frictiony sounding.
Yeah.
It makes you sound a little more southern rock than blues rock. It's the push and pull of the dobro to organ.
Yes.
But
the give and take and the push and pull and the balance. Let's listen to some key tracks. Yeah, let's get back around the horn. Talk about some conclusive thoughts. Drew, what would be your conclusive thoughts on this album as a whole?
Like I said, it's sort of a mix. This album is sort of a mixed bag. It's sort of weird for me because there are songs that I really enjoyed, and there are songs that I really did not enjoy. But I'm glad I listened to it. I'm glad I sort of understand all, because again, it's one of those things where I saw the name around a lot, and I just never wanted to take the time. And because I was like, I'm probably not gonna like it, whatever. Like, I'm just gonna push this into the background. I mean, they're on the same, or they were on the same label that bands like American Head Charge and Fu Manchu were on. So like, I wasn't like, company you keep and all that can be different, but hey, but it's something that now that I've listened to it, like, I get it now. I get why there would be a like really devoted following to this band, because there is some cool stuff there for sure.
Brett, what would be your conclusive thoughts?
This album is, I'm sure we could probably all agree that they executed this album pretty well for what it is. The mix is great. Nothing's lost. There's a lot of stuff going on. I didn't seem like I was missing out, or the things were being stepped on by other instruments. I couldn't see anything like that. Style, the music style is something that still lives on today in places where people haven't moved on, such as the Midwest. So it's not really my thing. I respect the musicianship. It wasn't a chore to have to listen to, like it sometimes is. We do it for you people. But it's not that bad. If you haven't listened to it, it's not that bad. You'll find something in here probably that you'll enjoy. I just don't think the overall product is something that I find that enjoyable. But it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mad.
Yeah, I ain't mad at you. Yeah, this is a cool listen. I think there's some sameness on going through it, but overall it's a cool listen. There's some cool stuff going. I didn't mind the vocals all that much, but yeah, I can definitely see how it could come off as a kind of a caricature. But I had a good time. Kind of.
It's like somebody trying to do both vocals from Hunger Strike at the same time.
Yes. It's like, which I think I've seen before in my years of karaoke. So it could be a thing. Patrick, what would be your conclusion overall?
I've been listening to this record for a decade now, and I still enjoy it. That at least in my view says something about it. That there's something there to really to latch on to and keep listening to. Just a fun aside, Clutch's website, because they've been around for a long time, is pro-rock.com. I just find that amusing because it's dumb and stupid, and they should never get rid of it. They've just been around for a long time. And as I understand it, Neil's a bit of a nerd. Reads a lot of sci-fi. If you can't guess by him titling a song after random binary code, which is literally random and doesn't mean anything, he's a nerd.
There's an album that, reading over their Wikipedia page, I apparently have to check out, that was released last year called Psychic Warfare.
That's all Philip K. Dick.
It's a concept album influenced purely by Philip K. Dick.
I
saw that and I'm like, okay,
right.
Maybe there's another Clutch record I have to listen to.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I'm just if you like rock and fucking roll and you want some Hammond organ with your heavy guitar licks, Clutch is here to bring it to you. I really like this record. I enjoy their other records, but none quite as much as this. So go give it a listen. If you don't like it, listen to something else the next time.
Yeah.
But maybe you will.
Maybe you will. Maybe you won't. Maybe you will. Yeah, those are our thoughts on Clutch Robot Hive Exodus. Now we get into the main event of the evening. We get to our haiku reviews. Sum it all up in poetic form. See how we feel about it. Let's switch it up. I'm going to start with Brett. Brett, what is your haiku?
The crunch got crunchy when the organ got fuzzy. It's not all that bad.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what is your haiku?
Almost hated it, but found some things I could dig. Still, overall, meh.
Yeah. Gritty stoner rock with some cool, clever ideas is a cool listen. Patrick, what is your haiku?
Super groovy rock, wonderfully absurd lyrics, stoner rock done right.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you can find this record on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. On that Spotify playlist, you can, of course, find on next week's record. I believe next week's record is by Brett. Brett, what are you bringing up for the group next week?
Well, since I told you guys to listen to this album, the guy died. So unfortunately, we have to have that episode. Yeah. But no, we're gonna go down this is a eat your vegetables, kids. Unless you're really into this, which I am. It is the album's the amazing new electronic pop sound of Jean-Jacques Perret.
Mm-hmm.
This is 60s digital or analog electric music.
And
Also,
all
don't
the-
forget to mention that you killed him.
Yes.
He was a million years old.
Yes.
He was the first thing to ever be synthesized.
Yes. He lived a good life. He lived a good long life. Yes. Of course. That will be next week. But this is this week. And here is now. The future is now. The present is now. The future is uncertain. I don't know. You can, of course, find us all over the internet. Patrick is at the Swagger. Brett is at HibbityBibberd, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at XJuciferX. I'm at PD Rave. The show's at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelli.net for listening to other shows. You can find us on iTunes, Stitchers, all over the place. Sorry for all those mid-2000s Chikara crowds that I triggered with my reference of The Future Is Now. I know you're all pissed that Lindsay Dorado has a career. Y'all stay there. But that's it for us. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.